Jonathan Reeves here with another Vectorworks 3D tutorial. Now today we're going to be looking at modelling some rather complex interiors in no time at all, and I've really enjoyed making this tutorial. Here's a few of the views that I've created on this little mini project, but it does incorporate modelling some custom curtains, things like skirtings and profiles, and I really hope you enjoy the video and learn a lot. Okay, so let's get started with this interior tutorial. We're going to set the scale to 1:20 scale. It's quite a nice scale to work out for a single room. And I'm just going to click onto my rectangle tool, double clicking and type in a room size of say 4 meters by 4 meters. And just click on that central point just to start off. So I'm bang in the middle of the paper. Always like to work in the center of the paper, so when you change the view, it's always right in front of you. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert this rectangle into a slab. Now, this is something you can do by right-clicking. I could have extruded it, but you'll see the reason I wanted to make this using the slab tool, because with the slab, we can actually have quite complex build-ups of sort of multi-component type floors. And you can see I've got some really nice libraries of walls and slabs and roofs that I've adapted and edited over the time. So let's go for this one. Now you can immediately see all the different components from the slab added straight in, which is cool. And the nice thing is I can easily just pop back in, change the datum there, just so that that one's the top, make a note of the class, if you like, for that top component, and then simply pop back in, right click, edit it, and now I can actually go to textures. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go off to the texture and replace the standard texture with something from my textures pack. I've already got some nice textures here. If you see my store, you'll see there's some great new textures on the texture packs 2 and 3. Okay, great. So what we'll do, I think I've just got that original polygon there. When I remove that, you'll see that gorgeous parquet floor. So that's looking good already. And that was really just starting off from the rectangle tool. Okay, good. So let's move on to the next step, of course. The next critical step is the walls. And what we'll do is select the wall tool. We'll go ahead and choose a ready-made wall tool from the libraries. Again, you can see I've got some really great libraries here that I sell on the store as well. So check those out. Okay, I'm going to go for this one, which is the one that I've decided to use for the tutorial. Nice, just simple brick external wall with a bit of plasterboard. Double click. When you draw with the wall tool, try and draw clockwise is the direction you want to draw in. And that generally means the external face of the wall will be outside if you draw that from the beginning. Now you can reverse the direction, but that's a good start. So I'm just going to pop in a height for these walls. I'm also going to give them a big sort of decent bottom offset here, just so the bottom of those walls go down to the sort of floor level. That looks pretty cool. Okay, great. Have a little spin around with the fly around tool. Okay, so we're on to the next stage. Let's get the window tool. I'm just going to snap that into the middle section of my wall. Let's have a quick look at it in 3D. So not quite in the right spot yet. We'll change to the sill height, and I think we'll go for a nice sort of 750 sill height. Do remember though, because the wall is minus 450, we need to take account of that in a second as well. Okay, so we'll go for a nice 1200 by 2 meter or 2.2 meter window, and let's just do the plus 450 in there just because that takes account of the bottom of the wall. Okay, great. We're going to go into the settings. And the nice thing about using this sort of mixture of parametric objects in 3D modelling is that it really speeds up the design process. So what we can do, if we wanted to, is pop in and make that into a sort of double hung sash window. And with the 2 sashes, I'm just going to basically select those and put some glazing bars in. I think we'll probably change that actually. Let's go for 2 by 1. Nice sort of traditional kind of Georgian type window. And just change things like the bar depth and the width depth. Excellent, that's looking good. Okay, good, so we'll click OK. Just before I come out, there's a few other things like the jam. We're going to go for a full width jam, and let's go 25mm, make it a bit slimmer. Great. So when I come out, that window's looking pretty detailed already, and it's looking great. Excellent. Okay, so I can see that there's one little thing that I just want to mention on windows and doors. There's always a shim gap by default, which ideally you turn off. Otherwise you get a little bit of packing or a little bit of a gap around the windows and the doors. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is just draw on the automatic plane with the rectangle tool. I'm going to pop my resources open, and I'm going to go and search for moulding. Now if you search for moulding, the word moulding, you're going to get some amazing, nice sort of profiles of bits of timber that we can use. It's a really fantastic library of mouldings. A lot of people just don't know these are here. And what we can do is we can double click, drag one of those into the drawing, and then basically select our shape. I'm just having a quick look at it in plan. There it is. Yeah, it's a bit small at the moment, so I think what I might do is just kind of stretch it with the scaling sort of mode. Brilliant. So let's select our profile and also give it some fill and just select the path. When we go to the model menu, there's a really nice command called extrude along a path, which basically means that we can take our profile and quickly extrude along the path. Now you can see sometimes this happens about 50-50 times, 50% of the time. I seem to get it the wrong way round, and I think you've just got to kind of remind yourself to draw clockwise or anti-clockwise, but you know what, it's no bother. I can easily just pick that profile up and move its position and also change its sort of orientation. And basically when I click OK and come out and exit the profile editing, that will actually sort this window out. So brilliant, that looks really detailed already. You can see the lovely detail we've got from our extrude along a path, just to sort of put some nice coving or mouldings around that window, as it would be in this sort of fairly traditional design at the moment. Okay, that's good. So I think what we'll do now is we'll basically just go to our 3D tools. We're going to go to basically a tool called the Extract Edge tool. We're going to select those two edges and just click tick to extract them. Now I can immediately right click and compose them. They're just two lines at the moment, so compose them into sort of one path if you like. I could have drawn that as a polygon, but I just thought I'd show you the extracting tool. Okay, great. So let's go back into our mouldings and choose a nice sort of skirting type profile. And there's all sorts to choose from. Let's just kind of drag in this one, pop that into plan, just move the resources out of the way for a second. I do notice they come in a bit small sometimes, so let's rotate it round is the first thing. And let's see if we can kind of scale it. That's looking good. Yeah, we can. Some of them you can scale by dragging. Others you want to scale using the Scale Objects tool. Okay, good. So we just need to select them once again, go to Extrude along a path, click OK, and see how it goes. There we go. Got it wrong again. But it's no problem. I can simply go into the editing profile mode. That takes me back into the profile. So when I'm here, I'll just snap it to the right point and basically re-extrude it. Lovely. And if you do want to change the size of it and edit the profile in there, you can. So that's really cool. Now here's a nice little trick. I can basically just, let's just pop in one more time. I just want to make it a bit bigger actually. So we'll go to the reshape tool and let's just pull this point up and pull it out a little bit more just to make that skirting a bit bigger. I'm using Q for my rubber to actually just cut a little niche or notch in it. Finally, I'll just make it solid so you can see the profile a bit better. That's looking good. Good, okay, so for things like profiles and ceilings and things like that, works really well. So I'm just going to duplicate that one up to snap it to that top corner so that we can adapt this for our ceiling moulding. So it's really easy. All we need to do is edit the profile, pop up into the profile there, and go to our mouldings and see if we can find something that's a bit more appropriate. Now that looks more like a ceiling type moulding to me. So we'll drag that one in. As I say, sometimes you can scale them, but you will notice that doesn't always work due to the nature of the curve. So the best thing to do, just go Scale Objects, type in, you know, twice as big, and that scaling works fine. Good, so they'll flip it around. Let's just place it into the correct position. We'll delete that one. And again, once again, just give it some solid fill, make it a bit easier to see. That's cool. And hide that. And now when we pop out, you'll see you've got lovely skirtings, but also some really nice sort of mouldings details up on the ceiling as well. So I think we'll just put those into a class. It's always good to class things up as you go. New class, let's make a class called mouldings. And the good thing with that is we can then use at creation. And what I'm going to show you here is how we can assign some nice Farron colour. So all you really need to do is pop into the colour manager, turn on the Farron colour chart, and you'll see all those gorgeous colours. And then we can select a really nice sort of Farron colour from our palette. Let's go for a nice kind of green, pea green, just for fun. I'm not sure if that's the right choice, but there we go. And do make sure that you actually set the attributes of the object by class. or the colour properties by class rather. So I can easily change that colour later if I don't like it, but I quite like it for now. It's quite funky. Okay, it's looking good. So let's go to top plan, and we'll select the window, duplicate it, and we'll just pop it in that other wall. And basically I'm going to click D for distance on my workspace just to measure the distance to that window there. Keep an eye on that, and then I can set this one by clicking set position. Here we go, set position, and I can basically click and measure and type in the distance. I think it was 1609 that I remembered before. So that's a really nice one just to match. Now the beauty is here I can simply select our basically moulding here, and I should be able to use the mirror tool to actually mirror across. Okay, so we're just going to break off into a mini tutorial on how to model curtains. So I'm just going to start with the line, and I'm going to use my push-pull tool to bring this up. Let's say that's about 1 metre by 2.4. Now I'm going to go and convert this to subdivision. Now you've seen other videos, I've been getting quite into subdivision modelling recently, and it's a really powerful modelling tool for modelling things like furniture and things like this. So I'm just going to go forward and basically put some extra points onto this element here, and I can basically click on the top line. You can see I can sort of subdivide all the way along as many times as I need to, really. That's cool. Now when I double click, I can basically select these individual vertexes. Okay, so double click, I can select these vertexes using this point, hold shift down, select additional vertexes, and then that means I can actually move them all together. So let's just pull them in a bit. And that will create some really nice sort of creases in the curtain at the bottom. The sort of top tends to be a bit straighter, as you can see, but I can just put a bit of variance in that as well, just by kind of clicking, just to sort of tweak that position there. Okay, that's good. Now you can see the basic form of the curtain taking shape, and if I did want to, I could smooth that, changing the surface iterations. But it's actually quite nice to keep it in low when you're modelling. So let's subdivide horizontally this time, this shape, just to put some crinkles and folds in it sort of vertically, as it were. That will do. Okay, so double click onto the surface, get onto the editing point mode, and basically I'm just kind of move these points around and freeform sort of moving them around with the snaps turned off actually. So that's good. So holding down the squiggle key to turn all the snaps off if needed. That seems to be working fine. Just to put a kind of bit of variance into my curtain, just make it look a bit more realistic. So this kind of subdivision modelling, if you've not done it, is absolutely perfect for modelling furniture. It's the kind of subdivision modelling that things like Pixar use to make their amazing movies. Obviously a bit more simplistic in Vectorworks, but the same basic principles apply. You can model some really complicated stuff with it. It's definitely not the easiest form of modelling. It takes a while to kind of get your head into, but definitely recommended. That's a nice little curtain, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what we'll do is we'll turn the iterations up and make it nice and smooth, and you can see just about it's got some nice folds there. So the final thing to do is just pop some materials on. Let's pop our resources out, double click and just put some fabric material on there and just see how that looks. Yeah, not the nicest fabric, but it kind of looks very much like a kind of 70s curtain, as you can see, but it was modelled really easily using the subdivision modelling tools. Now I'm planning to do some more subdivision modelling tutorials soon on modelling things like furniture, but it's quite a fun thing to do. Let's just mirror that across just to generate a couple of curtains. Good, good. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that. I think we'll just swap out that terrible texture one more time. So pop open resources. Let's just try something a bit more straightforward. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so let's get back to our tutorial. So what we're going to do is change to the top plan mode, pop open resources, and I just want to make the point for interior design that Vectorworks comes with the most incredible libraries of furnishings and fixtures, fittings, accessories, as you can see. So I really do recommend you explore those. All of the libraries are fully searchable. And, I've prepared and sort of chosen a couple of nice items of furniture here. So I'm just going to drag in this sort of classic Barcelona type chair. Mies van der Rohe. Let's just pop that in, move that into the drawing. It's going to look cool, and I think we'll just mirror that across the window so it's sort of central across that area there. M for mirror on my workspace. Good, so let's pop back into resources. Let's double click and get this pretty cool table, and we'll just pop that in the middle of those chairs. Now, even though there's no snap point there, I can find it by using my Smart Intelligent Align tool. Okay, so quick spin around. In 3D, that's looking really nice already. You'll see that there's all sorts of things, even sort of ready-made sort of dining sets and cutlery sets. So I'm just going to kind of double click and just pop that straight onto the table. Now, the really nice thing about using these libraries, it can add a lot of detail to your models really quickly without a lot of time involved. So my advice is to build up these libraries over time, and you'll notice I'm a huge fan of libraries. Check out the store for my wonderful furniture libraries, and recently, I say, we've been really busy making these great texture packs. Okay, so we're just going to pop in a rug for these little chairs to sit on. And let's just sort of centralise that so it's nice and centred around that table. It's a little bit small at the moment, but that's no problem. The good thing with Vectorworks symbols is you can just scale them. So just pop into the symmetrical scaling and scale that, maybe a little bit big actually. Let's make it a bit smaller, I think. Let's go for 1.2. 1.2 should be a bit okay. And we'll just pop that where we want it. Okay, good. Let's have a quick look in 3D. I think that's nudged into perfection. Brilliant. Okay, so we've added quite a bit of detail. Suddenly the things like the furniture. Let's double click and put some things onto the wall. So there's some really nice sort of artwork and bits of kind of wall features that I've found in the library. So I'm just going to double click and add those directly onto the wall using the automatic plane. Really love the way you can work in 3D or 2D these days. And the final thing is, I know I showed you how to do curtains earlier, but there is actually a really nice library of curtains, ready-made ones. So I just wanted to show you those as well. Just pop those onto that plane. That's good. And you can see the really nice thing with the curtains that you get from Vectorworks libraries are, if I can just grab them, let's move them across, they actually look great in 2D as well as 3D. What you can do though, you can ungroup them. And this is great because obviously it means that you can basically get them to fit different sizes. So basically I'm just going to drag this one across to the correct position. There we go. And then let's delete the other one. That's just have a little check in 3D. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's delete this one. Delete the other bits as well. And select that in plan, probably is the easiest way. Use M for mirror, mirror across the middle of that window. Fantastic. And then we can do the same just to mirror those by 45 degrees across because we know that are the windows in the same position. Excellent. It's looking really good. So our little room is coming together, having quite a lot of fun. And again, I've said this many a time. Really, learning Vectorworks 3D modelling or any system doesn't always depend on learning on real projects. I'm a huge fan of just coming up with some ideas and just trying things out. I'm not quite sure why I came up with this idea today, but it was something that I was thinking about for a little while, and I just wanted to show interior designers how easy it is to work in Vectorworks in 3D. So, you know, if you're one of those designers that's stuck in 2D, I'd really recommend moving over to 3D and giving it a try. Okay, so what I've just done is set up a new layer for the ceiling. I'm just going to kind of snap in another rectangle across that roof, and it's on its own layer, so the good thing about that is we'll be able to turn it off. Once again, I'm going to go and make another slab for the ceiling and basically choose to replace that with a slightly different floor type this time, of course, for a ceiling. More of a sort of not ground floor type, but intermediate floor. There's quite a few in my library already, so we just go for one of these and we can adapt it, I think. Let's just go for that one. Okay, so double click to apply. You'll notice the datums might be slightly wrong, but that's okay. We can sort that out. If you did want to, you could click the edge offsets and give each individual edge different offsets, but I'm okay with that at the moment. And all I really want to do is just go and edit the style of this slab. And remember, slabs are for ceilings as well. Going to duplicate one of those components and drag it down to form the ceiling. And then I'm just going to set the bottom datum to be the actual component at the bottom. So the ceiling moves up. The final thing then is just to edit the class that's giving it that brown fill, which is obviously a floor finish at the moment. So I'm just going to edit that, pop in there, and could turn the texture off if I wanted. But you know what? Let's go for a white sort of plasterboard type texture. And if you're unsure, the American term stucco will help you find sort of plasterboard as we would know it in the UK, or white plastered ceilings. And there's lots of different types of stucco, but we'll go for a nice plain white one. Okay, so onto the final little bit for the ceiling is to add a nice chandelier. I've popped back into my resources. I found it. Sometimes you get like a texture clash, and that's fine. You just click OK. Let's just drop that into the drawing and have a quick look at it in elevation. Looks brilliant, although I would like it to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to go to scaling, scale it by, say, twice as big, and that looks really nice. That's a great spot. I think it's okay. So have a little spin around and look at my little interior coming together. Okay, very good. So I'm really starting to feel happy with this now. Now we can start to look at taking some nice views off. So what we'll do is we'll pop it into 3D view. We'll just kind of have a little spin around and a walk around. Now when you go to the walk around tool, it will always pop into perspective mode. That's a good way to turn perspective on. You can always turn perspective on if you would like to, just from the top of the mode bar. Okay, so let's have a little walk around, and we'll kind of just translate that view to be a really nice view. Let's put the ceiling back on, and I'm really happy with that view. So this is easy for me to create a viewport now. Create viewport. Let's create this onto a brand new sheet. So this is our very first drawing, drawing 01, and we'll call this presentation, I think. Okay, do remember to edit the properties after creation so that you can up the DPI, the raster rendering DPI of the sheet. And you'll really be looking for about 300 DPI for decent quality renderings. We can adjust the scale of that viewport. We can tweak the scale, and in fact perspectives don't really need to be to scale, so you can custom scale them. Just type that in, 1:35 scale, seems to fit quite nice. When I click update, you'll see it does take a second or two to render, but it's pretty fast. Now the annotations is where the drawing label lives. So if you do want to keep the annotation and it's in the wrong place, just double click. Let's scale it down a bit. I'm pretty happy with it, but it's a bit big. I can actually type in the name of the drawing, perspective, and that will basically automatically change the drawing label. The good thing with the drawing label is it will automatically update the scale as you change the scale of that viewport later. Okay, good. So our first view's away, very happy. Let's pop back into our 3D model, back into the design layer, pop it into a 3D view, and what I'm going to do this time is use the clip cube. Now the clip cube is a wonderful tool for sectioning through the model. So if I wanted to, I could go through and section through at any particular height. But actually what I want to do is just section through literally just below the ceiling. I'm going to go to create viewport, but before I do that, I'm going to pop it into perspective view again and just frame that up with a little rotation. Good, good. It's looking nice. Okay, so now we're ready. We go to view, create viewport, create a different sheet. Let's go for 02, just call this sheet 2, that's fine. And create drawing label, maybe not, and we'll put the DPI up. Let's turn the drawing label up off for this one. Okay, now you notice that when it first updates, it does it in wireframe. It's not until you actually click update that the clip cube will reimpose itself. And actually you'll notice that the ceiling disappears. So that's a really cool little view. It's a little bit different, a bit diagrammatic. Let's go around to maybe a front view and do another one. Now you'll notice this is actually a front view, but it's in perspective. And that's a really nice way to represent rooms, not just pure elevation, but actually perspective elevations. Okay, same thing again then, we'll just pop this onto the sheet. Not sure if it's going to fit with the other one yet. So we'll just rejig the layouts here. Now, the viewports in Vectorworks are just superb. The sheet layers and the viewports, the way it works is just basically like a desktop publishing program. If you've been ever used sort of InDesign or anything, you know how flexible that software is. And really in Vectorworks, we have all that same capability. So I hardly ever use Adobe software, apart from a bit of image editing or when I'm doing my book, which is coming out soon. I'm currently writing another book on Twinmotion, so keep an eye on that, guys. That'll be available shortly. Okay, great. So we've got a little plan in there now, little reference plan. We can blow that up just to make a nice little kind of sheet for our presentation. Excellent. I'm really happy with that. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to my rendering here, and I really just wanted to show you one little effect, which I know I've shown before, but I can't resist, the image effects. So really within Vectorworks, we've got this almost built-in sort of bitmap editing, very simple software. It does allow you to do some quite nice effects, and the one that I quite like is the exposure and the softness around the edge. So it just kind of makes it look a bit more washed out, a bit more sketchy, a bit more conceptual, I'd say. So that's quite a nice little look, and the beauty with these viewports is of course they will update as the drawings update. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with a final render which was done in Custom Renderworks. Now this did take a bit longer to render, but I really just want to show you the lovely quality you can get directly within Vectorworks. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video and thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.